Hi guys, so today I want to talk to you about practice strategy. What to do when you're done with this course and you're on your own and you're just practicing. Like, how do you really juice and get the most out of your practice and get really skillful at it, especially when opportunities and supposed obstacles come up. So opportunities like windows and doors to go through and explore, and supposed obstacles that come up. Common obstacles that come up or arise in your practice may be like, oh, there's a flurry of thoughts and I can't concentrate or focus, or oh, a sense of anxiety arose in my body, how to work with that, or this thought triggered this emotion, which triggered this physical sensation, and before you know it, everything's pinging off each other off to the races, and everything's become kind of cross-multiplied, as Shinzen says, and solidified. Or a physical sensation arises and it's seemingly a problem because it's a sensation of pain or a sensation of like, you worry about it, like, oh, that's in my knee and that was an old injury, and is that I gotta move, that's painful. It's, but you know what, this is suffering, right? This is what I told you was the formula for suffering. It's like pain, like maybe a little pain comes up or a seeming sensation of pain comes up, and then we are like off to the races with what that is, which of course amplifies. And before you know it, we're sitting on the mat and we're suffering. We're like, oh my gosh, I've got it. I can't do this practice. I gotta move. My leg's gonna fall off, blah, blah, blah. You know, that is suffering. The formula for suffering is pain times resistance, because we're resisting it. We're like, oh, we get constricted and resistant about what's going on in our sensory system. And that is going to arise in your practice. And so that's what this video is about, how to handle that, what to do. Having skillful means upaya. You have the means to work this practice skillfully. Or another word would be strategy. Strategies to work with whatever arises in my sensory experience moment to moment. So again, you're not being dragged around like rag doll by all of those sensations. You're like, oh, that's just arising, and I know how to work with that sensation. I know what to do. And there really are only two ways, whether it's a supposed obstacle or intense sensation or emotion or something that arises, phenomenon, sensory phenomenon, or a window of opportunity of like, ooh, this is a deep opportunity to go into some flow states or some deep groove of feel deep rest, relaxation, satiation, or feel good, satisfied, like riding that wave. There's really only two ways to practice. So if you can just keep that in mind, peace, keep it simple. And one of them is to either zoom out, chill out, go to the outer realms, you know, see out, hear out, or just anchor out and have background equanimity with what's going on. And background equanimity is having equanimity with whatever is not your foreground method of practice. Oh, I'm going to sit down today and I'm picking a method of meditation, and it is this, and I want to concentrate on this, right? That's foreground equanimity, having equanimity with that in the foreground. Background equanimity is, oh, this thing arose. Can I work with it in some way? It's very intense. I'm going to drop my practice for a minute, whatever my focus of practice was, and I'm going to go into feel rest. And can I find, even if this intense sensation is here, it's in my chest, or it's an emotion, or it's somewhere, can I find any flavor of feel rest or slowing down? Or maybe I go into my breath and there's a little bit of relaxation in the breath, or maybe I literally physically relax the body and I zoom into feel rest and hold space for myself for a little bit. And when I feel confident and ready, then I come back and start working on my practice, because maybe that chills out that thing that arose, that intense sensation that arose. The feel rest often can have an effect of doing that, or it anchors us enough so that we go, okay, well, that's there, got feel rest, okay, I've got this covered, now I'm going to go back into my practice and keep working the practice that I chose to. So every time you sit down to do a meditation, you want to have a skill or a practice specifically that you're going to do. You pick one, and it could be based on your life situation. or it could be based on the day that you had, or it could be based on just like, oh, well, I haven't done see, hear, feel for a long time, so I'm going to do that. Or, oh, I had a really stressful day. Maybe I'm going to do feel rest. Or maybe I'm going to do a little bit of feel rest at the beginning to land, get concentrated, and then go into deep sensory clarity with see, hear, feel, or Vipassana, or a deconstruction, or non-dual practice or something. And that's fundamental, because if we just sit down on the mat and we have no idea what we're going to practice, then you're going to find that 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half hour that you set aside to meditate, you're just like wandering all over the place, channel surfing. Oh, maybe I'll do this. Oh, maybe I'll do that. Oh, maybe I'll do that. So you want to get clear before you start your practice. I'm going to do a practice for X amount of time, and it's going to be this method of meditation, or this combination of methods of meditation. And then know, yes, that's a great plan, but also we're opening ourselves up, remember, to let things unravel, to let things rise to the surface. So shit is going to rise to the surface. So even though we have this plan, sometimes these unexpected things, phenomena comes up, and then you just know, oh, okay, something's arising, now how to work with this. And that would be either zooming out, anchoring out, background equanimity, feel rest, feel good, or going with the flow of it. Like maybe there's a solidified, intense sensation of anxiety or an emotion or a physical sensation in the body that's very intense or just dull or taking a lot of your attention or energy. And you go, okay, well, that's there, but maybe I can go with the flow of the outer contours of what's going on in my body. Maybe there's a sense of flow through the rest of my body. And this is, for example, what I did in Vipassana. It's a scanning method where you would scan top to bottom, front to back, side, whatever scanning you chose to do. You would move through the body with your awareness and just notice what's in your sensory system, and then have equanimity with whatever arose. And so it'd be like, oh, that's a little clunky, or that's a little loud, or there's something there, or that's anxiety, or whatever it is. Without the story, not like, oh, Sally, who I have to work with every day, causes me anxiety. Damn it, why did she do that to me? Right? Because that's not gotten us anywhere for the last 40 years. We've been doing that shit method. That doesn't do us any good, right? So we go into the sensory experience of it, of like, oh, okay, I'm just riding the wave. There's flow or movement I'm going to go through that I can ride the wave of through the rest of the body. And oftentimes flow breaks things up that's in its path. So I would work through and go, oh, still there. Yep. Going down, going back up. Oh, still there. What's it look like now? Has it changed a little bit more? Oh, okay. It's still there. I go into, oh, it's shifted. It's moved. It's changed. And eventually it either kind of breaks apart and you let it go and the whole body turns into this vibratory flow. Or you just know, oh, I can still work around this sensation that's in my body in terms of using flow as a way to work with it. Or the second method, just remember peace. What do I do? What did it need to tell me to do when shit arises? Peace. So the second component to that is to zoom into the belly of it, to work with it. So maybe, just as I mentioned with the anxiety, maybe you go for the flow or the ride of anxiety and you go, ooh, what does the ride of anxiety feel like, the sensation? Well, it's like a restriction. Is it in my chest? Is it my solar plexus? Oh, a thought just triggered that emotion. Oh, and then the emotion caused a physical reaction, and then, oh, there was this flood and flurry of vision stuff going on. And you get really curious about just like riding the wave, moment to moment of that anxiety. Because what do we know about flow? That anxiety is actually, this too is passing. You're riding and tasting, metabolizing moment to moment the sensory experience of what anxiousness is in your body. Oh, it's just excitement energy. I'm excited right now. And that excitement is in my chest and it's a flurry and it does this and it interacts with this and right? And before you know it, you've taken the story, the fear out of it, and you're just riding the wave of the sensation of it, right? Or you can delve in deep, like if it's a physical sensation or an intense emotional sensation, and go in and go, ooh, can I delve into the belly and deconstruct and see what's in there? What's in there? What's in the middle of that emotion? What's in the middle of that physical sensation? Ooh, same thing. Is it seemingly solid? Is it moving? Is it morphing? Is it changing? What does this sensation feel like in my body? And oftentimes to do that, it's helpful to just kind of pack a little bit of feel rest or feel good around it. See if you can find it, the edges of it, and then kind of zoom out. We do this in physical activity, in yoga class, in working out, in stretching especially. We know we go right to the edge of that stretch and we go, oh, okay, I go beyond this stretch, it might cause me a little bit of injury or muscle damage or something. So can I touch the edge a little bit and then go, oh, I'm gonna back off a little bit, 10%. And this is where you're backing off and going, okay, in between here and my sensation, can I play here? It's safe to play here. It feels good to play here. Can I find any little bit of space or feel rest or feel good around that? And then you go, okay, now can I poke it a little bit? Now can I go in a little bit in terms of go into the sensation, the contours of the sensation, not the story of it, the sensory contours of what you're experiencing. In other words, is it vibratory? Is it seemingly solid? Is it moving? Is it flowing? Is it morphing? Is it burning? Is it tingling? Is it itching? What is it? What's going on? And get really curious there and start to deconstruct. This is the Vipassana or the see, hear, feel bits of going in deep. And you can do this with see, hear, feel in terms of, oh, that seemingly solid ball is like, oh, there's a hear in and a feel in, and you know, you can recycle the reaction of what's coming up with see, hear, feel. You just go, oh, there's a strong sense of maybe it's hear in that keeps making this get thicker and thicker, and it's like pea soup down here, and this does this, you know. And so you're using see, hear, feel to deconstruct that. And it's the same whether it's a seeming, you know, problematic or obstacle that comes up, a intense thing that comes up that's seemingly not pleasant. We work with those in the same way as we work with supposed pleasant. Maybe it's a deep flow state that comes up, or a deep sense of satisfaction through feel good or feel rest. Like you get in a deep shamatha, feel rest, calm abiding, and you're just like, you get a taste and a flavor of that absolute rest that's always there, that deeper sense of rest. Same thing there, you can dive in it and go for the ride. If it's flow and it's this deep, vibratory, champagne-like flow, same thing, go in, dive in, go for the ride of it, right? Or the feel good. You get in a really good groove of a feel good or metta or loving kindness, compassion practice, dive in, go for the ride of it. Or you can zoom out. So say you're in a meeting or you're at work and you just get this wave of this natural, just spontaneous flow that happens in your body, or one of those spontaneous, deep states of absolute rest or absolute feel good. But you're like, oh, I can't delve into that right now because I gotta pay attention. I'm supposed to be writing this paper or giving this, listening in this meeting or giving this talk or this speech or this presentation, right? So you can go, oh, I can throw that. I can anchor that in the background and throw that in the background and have equanimity with that in the background. And it's like this little delicious padding that you get that just flavors and peppers your experience. And then you bring your focus and concentration and clarity to the foreground, right? And just let that be like a nice little cushion or a little wave in the background that peppers or flavors your experience in the foreground. So many cool experiences you're about to have as you embark on this journey. Just have confidence and know you have the skills to deal with whatever arises or whatever comes up. And as you start to get deeper and you start to get more curious and it gets juicy, you start to have a natural desire to be like, oh, how can I supplement this more? Are there accelerators or things that can accelerate this process and accelerate this practice And yes, there are. There are actually 4 of them, and you've practiced 3 in this course. The other one we'll go through today, the 4th one. And those accelerators are trigger practice, motion practice, situational practice, and the one that we haven't gone over is duration practice. So we're just going to do a quick recap of the first 3 since you've already done them. So we start with motion practice. So motion practice is, again, putting this practice into play during the day while you're literally in motion, in your everyday life, in motion. And again, that could be like, oh, I'm on a treadmill doing something that's like an automatic movement that I don't have to pay attention to. Can I either go into the auto of it and feel auto and play in auto land, or do I want to do a formal practice right here? Because I can put all of my attention on a formal practice because my legs know how to run. I set the treadmill in the right setting. I don't have to worry about anything else. I could actually delve into a formal practice right here. Or maybe you're doing something in motion that's like driving a car or playing racquetball. Like you're like, well, I got to focus on what I'm doing. Like it takes a lot of coordination to drive a car and play racquetball, right? But I could, like if I'm driving a car, focus on see out, hear out, and probably I might be a better driver because I'm actually delving into the whole dynamic and the sensory field of driving a little bit deeper, and I'm meditating at the same time. And remember, this is just 10 to 20% of your attention goes to a practice, while most of your focus is in the forefront of the skill that you have to be paying attention to, like racquetball. With racquetball, it could be like, ooh, could I go into a little background sense of flow? So I'm like, whoo, whoo. You're just in flow, in the moment, at one with that racquetball game. Or maybe a sense of chill out in the back. Like I tend to be a really competitive person. Maybe I can just like chill out and enjoy the racquetball game this time, right? Or maybe it's literally in motion. You're on a walk and you're doing auto, or you're on a walk and you're doing see out, see good. You know, that's another way in motion. There's so many motion practices we went over. Those are just a few examples. The next one is trigger practice. And we did trigger practice with music. Like we triggered feel good with it. We triggered emotions of letting the notes and the beautiful sounds hit, hear good, feel good. When we played with those delicious, beautiful emotions that music invokes, right? And sometimes we tend to think, oh, well, that wasn't really like a legit practice, right? No, that actually was a brilliant and legit practice because you're training emotional intelligence. And remember I said, if you can train it in the good, the feel goods area, the feel joy, feel good, you can train it in the, when like feel sad or fear states or shame emotions come online. You're like, oh, I know how to work with emotion because I learned how to work with this feel good emotion. Same skills, right? And then the third one is situational practice. And that is a little bit about what I mentioned before of like, in my situation, my life situation right now, if I'm going to sit down and do a meditation practice, like what would suit me right now? What would be, start my practice on fire? What have I not done in a while? What, depending on my day, like what suits me in the moment to practice? And how can I work with my life situation of what's arising from day to day? And the last one we haven't done is duration practice. And duration practice is just as it sounds. You're going to extend the time, the duration of your practice. So if you have been practicing 10 minutes a day in a formal practice, you may extend it out to 15 minutes, or you may do once a week, do a 20-minute sit. Or say this whole week I'm going to go 12 minutes, and then maybe next week I'm going to do 15 minutes. And you're just playing with the duration, the time of your formal practices and sits and extending them out further. And you're also sitting with strong adiktan or diktana, they say, or strong determination. So you're not going to move and squirrel around. You're going to be like, I'm here, I'm going to do this practice, and I'm going to try not to move as best I can. Now, when we do that, oftentimes, again, the opposite arises. And you may notice a sensation of like agitation comes up because you've told yourself you're going to do this strong determination set, you're going to not move. Or you may notice like, this is where like the itches and the sneezes come into place, and you're like, oh, I've got to move my leg, or this is itching and I got to, you'll notice that as soon as you do this, it's like something flips on. It's like a little switch flips on and it's like, oh, I gotta move. If I don't move, my leg's gonna fall asleep. I'm gonna die. Or a sneeze comes up. Sit with the flavor of it. Or an itch. This is great. Like, I gotta itch that itch. I gotta itch that itch. Can you just sit with the arising and the passing? This too will pass. It's passing of an itching sensation or a burning sensation or I'm gonna sneeze sensation, and just work with that unpleasant sensation as it arises, or seemingly unpleasant. And you'll find that those are actually really delicious and fruitful and insightful and joyful to actually, when you sit with one of those first ones and you're like, I sat with that sensation and it was so rich and there was so much information there, and I had so much wisdom and insight from that one little tiny experience. It's like a whole world opens up to you. So be patient with your practice. And sometimes you're like, I just can't sit with it. If you have to move slowly. Take as much time as you can to just move slow. Or if you're gonna reach down to get an itch the nose, you're just like, slowly, like, just do it slowly, and then come back. Because whenever you go, hoo, right? Like, we've been sitting there, systems calming down, you're settling into deep equanimity, deep sensory clarity, and then we move in these fast movements and it jerks you right out of your practice. So if you're doing a strong determination set, you're doing a duration set with strong determination, I'm not going to move, but you have to move, you just have to move, just do it slowly. And then if you have to move, don't beat yourself up. And remember, that's the moment of learning. That's the moment of mind wandering way of like, oh, I have to itch this. I just have to see what it's like. I feel like if I don't do it, I'm gonna die, or whatever, like ridiculous stuff comes through your head. Notice, oh, I'm doing that. And then notice, what do I learn when I satisfy that itch, when I follow that craving? There's so much insight and wisdom there too. So you really can't go wrong, you guys. Just try everything. Explore everything. This is an exploration practice. One of my favorite teachers used to say all the time, you have to walk this path. You have to work out your own liberation. Here's the path. Here are the tools. This is the why and the how of it, right? But you got to take every step along that path. You're not taking it alone, and you're not taking it without tools and help and assistance and community, but you got to do it. You have to sit there in your own practice, moment to moment, metabolizing and working out your own liberation. And that's pretty cool. Only you can do it. And if you do it and you commit to doing it, you will get the deepest insights and wisdom and gift to know thyself that you can get, more satisfying than the house and the car and the boat and the bullshit. You will have the gift of knowing that no matter what arises in your life, change, hard times, growth, expansion, anything, you have the skills for it. And not only do you have the skills to ride the wave of it, you have the skills to, along the way, as you ride the wave, learn and grow and actually flip it on its head and become satisfied. Relative satisfaction, relative rest, deep wisdom and intuition. It's there. It's been waiting for you. You've sat on this box of golden fucking goods your whole life. Open the lid, dive in. Okay, I think that's it. In a nutshell, before you practice, choose a practice. Know how you're going to deal with what arises. Play and explore what arises. Opportunities or obstacles. Be patient with yourself. Hold yourself in loving kindness and compassion. And just keep going. Just keep going. You get to do this work to get to a place of liberation. Deep wisdom and insight and joy. Thanks for joining me, you guys. Have a great day. Enjoy the journey.